Friends, like all of you know, today is Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary. Swami Vivekananda is an eternal inspiration to millions and millions of young people around the country and around the world. His life, his message, his writings, his speeches stir raw emotion among young people even to this day and inspire them and motivate them to work towards bettering themselves, bettering the society around them, and making sure that they contribute and live a wholesome life. For me personally, Swami Vivekananda has been like a lamppost, a guidepost, whenever I've hit crossroads in life. Whether it was those times when I didn't perform very well in college or school in an examination, came back home to face the reprimands from my mother, it was Vivekananda who came to my rescue. Those times when I came back home dejected, disappointed, not believing in myself, it was Swamiji's words that lifted me up. Those times, during a bad breakup, when you were confused, not knowing what to do, what is right, Swamiji helped me. Swamiji guided us, made the path clear. My initial days of understanding India, our people, our culture, our religion, understanding science, appreciating rationality, all of these basic ideas formulated in my mind because I studied Vivekananda in my early days. Like me, there are millions and millions of people whose lives have been positively impacted by Swami Vivekananda and his teachings. Today, all of us are celebrating the National Youth Day, his birth anniversary, with a lot of reverence and a lot of devotion. Today I thought I must make use of this opportunity to talk to all of you and share some ideas of Swami Vivekananda which have helped me, motivated me, and even to this day continue to inspire me to work towards this country, to better ourselves, helps me when I am in confusion. And I thought today maybe we can share these ideas and remember his teachings and celebrate his life in a more meaningful manner. Many a times when we celebrate Jayantis of great men, we tend to deify them, we tend to make gods out of them and stop believing that they were just like us, human beings with a lot of limitations, a lot of challenges. They lived normal lives like us, but they overcame ordinary and extraordinary challenges to live an extraordinary life. So here are 10 ideas of Swami Vivekananda which are universal, which will stand the test of time and which will help all of us become better people. The very first one, Swami Vivekananda was a great believer in people believing in themselves. Believe in yourself more than any other god. This is the basis of all religion, he said. You are the maker of your own destiny. These were his great words. Friends, many of us, when we start to do anything in life, are clouded and shrouded in self-doubt. We feel that we don't have the ability to do the right things. Many a times we feel we don't have the right opportunities, that we are not placed, in life in a way like others are placed. We keep giving excuses to ourselves as to why we cannot do something that we can do. And this leads to a debilitating lack of confidence, which does not let us come up and go ahead and chase our dreams. But Swamiji said, do not believe in astrologers, do not believe in soothsayers, do not believe in prophecies of this, that. Believe in yourself, believe in your ability, because you are the maker of your own destiny. So I think that's a great lesson to start with. Can we all be more confident about our own abilities? Today, our Prime Minister is speaking of Atmanirbhar Bharat, a self-reliant India. A nation can be self-reliant only when its people can be self-reliant. Can we work on becoming more confident in whatever our abilities are? Can we improve our abilities, and can we become more self-confident? That is a tribute that all of us can give to Swami Vivekananda. The other important idea that Swamiji stressed was on focus. Today, all of you are aware of how distracted our world is, how distracted all of us are. Our phones constantly ping notifications, our friends are posting new pictures on Instagram. We all want to live a life of success, but we don't understand that success can be achieved only if we are focused in life. Swami Vivekananda stressed on the importance of focus leading to success. He said, and I quote, "Take up one idea, make that one idea your life, dream of it, think of it, live on that idea. Let the brain, the body, muscles, nerves, every part of your body be full of that idea, and just leave every other idea alone. This is the way to success, and this is the way great spiritual giants are produced." Friends, it may be a friendship, it may be relationships that we have with people, it may be issues or activities that we take. We always tend to get cluttered and distracted. What is very important is focus. So, if we can work on one idea at a single time and try to execute it with our full heart, then success comes calling our way. So, Swami Vivekananda was very clear when he guided all of us that focus is extremely essential for success. Can we inculcate this in today's life? Can we work towards becoming more focused in our work, in our personal lives, in the way we approach every day? Can we make our life less cluttered, less distracted, and concentrate on those things which are the core essentials of leading a happy life? That's something that Swami Vivekananda asks us to ponder over. Friends, the other important idea that Swamiji exhorted all of us to do was to think of living for others and living for ideas and purpose beyond just ourselves. He said in his inimitable way, "Those who live for others are the only ones living. The rest are more dead than alive." Many a times we, in the humdrum of living, we try to make the whole of our existence about just us. We start living lives just like any other animals. But as human beings, as sentient beings, we are capable, or rather we have a responsibility to live a life that is beyond just ourselves. There are so many problems that the world is facing. Can we as young people try to solve these problems of the world? What is entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is essentially trying to solve problems of the world. Can we think of how, as young people, can we envisage a world which has better solutions for a sustainable living? Can we address the big challenge of climate change? Can we review and rethink the idea of consumer-led development? Can we make our people more prosperous? Can we fight poverty? Can we make striding progress in understanding new avenues of biosciences, biomechanics? Can we lead all of these things, thinking to solve the problems of not just us, but for the rest of the world? Can this motivate us to lead lives greater than just us and our immediate families? Can we make our lives worth living? Swamiji asks us to do. So can we all resolve to live for others, for a cause more impersonal and more greater than just ourselves. And that truly is the way to happiness, finding purpose that is beyond us, beyond just our limited mortality. Can we do that? Swamiji asks us to do. A great way to remember and celebrate his birth anniversary would be to reflect on how we can lead a life that is beyond just us and live for others. Swami Vivekananda was a great champion of education for our women. Friends, I have been traveling all across the country in the recent days. My travels in Bihar during the elections and certain parts of West Bengal, certain parts of rural Karnataka. The more and more I travel, the stark reality of our young women, our young girls, still not getting equal opportunities like our young men and young boys do, haunts us. Swamiji was a great champion of education for women, of equal treatment of women, and for women-led leadership. Our Prime Minister focuses on this aspect every single day. And Swamiji said that the best thermometer to the progress of a nation is its treatment of its women. Our right of interference is limited entirely and only to giving education. Women must be put in a position to solve their own problems in their own way. No one can or ought to do this for them. And our Indian women are capable of doing it as any in the world. Can we resolve today that if at all and when we come across instances where our women are treated unfairly, instances where our young girls are not given equal opportunities of education, of employment, of pursuing their dreams, just like another young boy, will we speak for that girl? Can we speak for our young women and ensure that they get an equal treatment like anybody else do? Swamiji asked us to do. He wanted a progressive society, a modern society, where young men and young women will take on the world, the challenges of the world, uninhibited by the limitations of gender. Can we do that? Swamiji asked us to do. Swami Vivekananda was a great believer in young people. He said, "My faith is in the younger generation, the modern generation, and out of them will come my workers, and they will solve the whole nation's problem like lions." Friends, as young people, all that we ask the older generation for is opportunities. But many a times, we forget that there are a lot of young people who are younger than us. And we owe a sense of, we owe them a great debt of responsibility. Just like out of the previous generation, we expect opportunities, mentorship, help, hand-holding. It is our duty and responsibility to guide, mentor, and support and encourage people younger to us. In my office today, a 10th standard boy came up and asked if he could intern in our office. We were very happy. And just like that, young people need to be encouraged. So wherever you are, know that the more young people you help, more opportunities you give them, you are actually continuing your legacy. So the world is very transient. All of us have come here for a limited period. We all will get old. We all will wither away. But while we are at whatever we are doing, can we give more opportunities to young people? Can we help them? Can we help them realize their dreams? Can we encourage them in whatever they do? Because Swami Vivekananda was a firm believer in the power of young people. You give young people an opportunity and they will prove you right. They will prove you, they will ensure that they put in so much hard work and do the right things to do. All that we need to do today is to give more and more opportunities to our capable young people. Can we do that consciously? So, whoever you meet, if he is younger to you, know that you have a responsibility to mentor him, to support him, encourage him, and give him opportunities. Just like how we expect our elders to do it for us. Friends, the other very important lesson that Swami Vivekananda and his life gives all of us is the ability to constantly learn and improve ourselves. This is so much more relevant in today's age where things are changing so fast. Swamiji said that Sri Ramakrishna used to say, "As long as I live, so long do I learn." That man or society which has nothing to learn is already in jaws of death. There can't be more powerful exhortation to learn and improve ourselves every day. Friends, every day, consciously or unconsciously, we learn a lot of habits. And it's unconsciously we get into some habits which are not very good for us. And it's very difficult to get out of habits. But only a constant effort towards everyday progress, everyday evolution is what can help us achieve this goal of getting out of bad habits and cultivating good ones. Whether it is learning a new language, whether it is learning a new skill, whether it is in improving the way we think, clarity of thought, in every aspect of life, in becoming more honest, in becoming more disciplined, in being more fit physically. In every aspect, can we resolve to be a better version of ourselves every day? Gone are those days when we would finish one entrance examination, get a job, in a bank or a government job, and then we could rest with the understanding that for the next 30-40 years you don't have to worry about upskilling. Now, by the time you complete your 4 years in engineering, that by the time you get out of college, what you would have studied in college would be far inadequate in terms of market demands. So this is a generation, ours especially is a generation where you will not have just one type of job in your professional career. You will have multiple jobs. For that you will have to have multiple skills. So sometimes you have to learn, sometimes you have to unlearn, sometimes you have to upskill yourself, reskill yourself. So learning is a constant process. So if Rabindranath Tagore could start learning to paint when he was in his 60s, when we have examples of Dr. Abdul Kalam trying to learn the veena in his 60s and 70s, why can't we start getting inspired to learn new things every day? So can we all resolve to read more, to imbibe new ideas, try to learn things, try to go out of our comfort zone to make ourselves a better version of ourselves? Because Swamiji, remembering his master, gave us a very important message. As long as I live, so long do I learn. Can this be a mantra for us? Friends, one other important lesson of Swami Vivekananda, or an important facet of his entire life, was his ability to reflect on the world, the problems, about himself, about the nature of the world, the nature of the soul, ask existential questions, answer those questions. All of this he could do because he practiced meditation. It's very difficult for us to sit at one place, make time, and start practicing meditation. But meditation helps us arrive at clarity. Meditation helps us understand issues better. Meditation helps us declutter our mind. Meditation helps us see the big picture. Meditation helps us to resist temptations. Meditation helps us to understand the core nature of things. But in today's distracted world, where most of us lead such quote unquote busy but unproductive lives, we find it very hard to make time for meditation. I have learned this the hard way. Those days where I do not contemplate or don't I find time to reflect, and those days where I am fully busy are the days where I am not very productive. But those days where I find some time to sit and meditate, contemplate and reflect, those days I feel I am more productive. Many great men, some of the most successful CEOs, some of the most greatest business leaders, political leaders, all of them find time to isolate themselves and sit and reflect on the nature of things and contemplate on things. Swamiji said that talk to yourself once in a day, otherwise you may miss meeting an intelligent person in this world. Meditation is that power which enables us to resist our slavery to nature. So, can we practice mindful meditation? Can we start with 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day? And there's a lot of literature that out there that is available on meditation written by Swamiji himself, which can be a great tool for all of us. But can we resolve to do that from today? Friends, the other very important aspect of Swamiji's life and teaching is his ability to place or rather subject religion and religious beliefs on the anvils of science, test it on the anvils of science. Swamiji was perhaps the greatest monk of the 19th century who approached religion from the prism of science. This is what Swamiji says. Believing certain things because an organized body of priests tell him to believe. Believing because it is written in certain books. Believing because his people like him to believe. The modern man knows to be impossible for him. Should religion justify itself by the discoveries of reason, through which every other science justifies itself? Are the same methods of investigation, which we apply to sciences and knowledge outside, should they be applied to the science of religion? In my opinion, this must be so. And I am also of the opinion that the sooner it is done, the better it is. If a religion is destroyed by such investigations, it was then all the time useless, unworthy superstition. And the sooner it goes, the better. I am thoroughly convinced that its destruction would be the best thing that could happen. Such powerful words. Most of the problems of religion today, whether it is Islamic terrorism, whether it is religious conversion by Christian missionaries, whether it is the still in some parts of the country prevailing caste discrimination or certain superstitious practices in certain parts of in Hindu society. Many of these are because we believe in something that somebody said, a certain holy book says it, because a certain priest asks us to believe it, or because if we do not believe in it, our people will subject us to, the society will not like us. But Swamiji asked us to believe in science and reason and not in blind belief and faith. Today, in the 21st century, independent thinking man wants stronger answers than blind belief and faith. Vedanta, the religion of the future, is what Swamiji called Vedanta, asks all of us to question our long held beliefs, contemplate on these things, place reason over faith, science over belief. So can we all evolve to be a society that questions these blind practices, irrespective of the religion? Can we as a society mature our thinking and thoughts to ensure that blind belief will not lead us on the path of destruction, but reflection, scientific inquiry will bring us on the path of construction? This can be a great tribute that we can give to Swami Vivekananda. Friends, Swami Vivekananda also spoke of leadership. His idea of leadership is something that must inspire all of us. Unlike many of the modern books, literature and gurus of leadership, Swami Vivekananda essentially believed that only those people who aspire to serve can have the right to lead. His idea of leadership was based on the ability and the willingness to selflessly serve. He said that nobody will come to help you if you put yourself forward as a leader. Kill self first if you want to succeed. You will have to take charge of the whole movement, not as a leader but as a servant. Do you know? The least show of leading destroys everything by rousing jealousy. Friends, today we find so many literatures. If you go to any self-help book section in a bookstore, there are hundreds of books you will find on how we can become a leader. If we aspire to become a leader, if we aspire to be something rather than do something, that's a place which will lead, that's a path ridden with a lot of pitfalls. So, like our Prime Minister always reminds us, always focus on what you can do rather than what you can be. Most of the times, especially for us political leaders, people in politics or in any other profession, it's so easy to get attracted to the glories of what being a leader is. Somebody coming and opening the doors for you, putting shawls, garlands. What is the purpose of all of that? Nothing. What one must focus on is what impact have we done? How much people have we served? How many lives have we touched? How much of positive impact have we created in the lives of people? How many happy smiles have we seen today? So can we redefine the idea of leaders, idea of leadership, and focus on being great selfless servants of people? It's easier said than done, because the trappings of power, the trappings of money, fame and attention are such that they always have the potential to distract you from your core goal of service. But can we always remind ourselves of the great words of Swamiji that serve and not lead? Can we kill our egos in the attempt of service of people? Friends, Swami Vivekananda was one of the greatest Hindu monks. While he gave the entire world, and most importantly, the thinking man, the call to reflect, contemplate, and place reason over faith, science over blind belief, he also specifically asked the Hindu society to correct its ills and to stand united. Because if the Hindu survives, liberty survives. If Hindu survives, then modern notions of progress, development, all of these will not be trapped by fanatic religious thinkers. Because religion, according to the Hindu idea, was essentially freedom of thought expression to find the truth. Therefore, whenever there were attempts made to subjugate the Hindu to brutal torture, whenever there were attempts made to subjugate the Hindu towards pain, to remove or change his way of life, Swamiji cautioned the Hindu society and asked the Hindu society to rise against such evils as one. Let me quote you Swamiji's words, his rousing call to the Hindu nation. Mark me, then and then alone you are a Hindu, when every man who bears the name from any country, speaking our language or any other language, becomes at once the nearest and the dearest to you. Then and then alone you are a Hindu, when the distress of anyone bearing that name comes to your heart and makes you feel as if your own son were in distress. Then and then alone you are a Hindu, when you will be ready to bear everything for them. Like the great example I have quoted at the beginning of this lecture of the great Guru, Guru Gobind Singh, driven out of this country, fighting against its oppressors, after having shed his own blood for the defense of the Hindu religion, after having seen his children killed on the battlefield. By this example of the great Guru, left even by those for whose sake he was shedding his blood and the blood of his own nearest and dearest, he, the wounded lion, retired from the field calmly to die in the south, but not a word of curse escaped his lips against those who had ungratefully forsaken him. Mark me, Every one of you will have to be a Govind Singh if you want to do good to your country. May you see thousands of defects in your countrymen, but mark their Hindu blood. They are the first gods you will have to worship, even if they do everything to hurt you. Even if every one of them sends out a curse to you, you send out to them words of love. If they drive you out, retire to die in silence like that mighty lion Govind Singh. Such a man is worthy of the name of the Hindu. Such an ideal ought to be before us always. All our hatchets let us bury. Send out this grand current of love all around. Friends, one gets goosebumps reading these words. When we see today that the Hindu is being subjugated, our temples are vandalized in certain states of the country. In certain states, we are not allowed to take out religious processions. Hindus in different parts of the world, whether in Malaysia, whether it is in Pakistan, Afghanistan, or any other part of the world, is subjugated. Can we all rise as one and speak for our people? Can we ensure, for the sake of rationality, for the sake of scientific progress of the humankind, we protect the Hindu faith? Because the Hindu has always believed that the truth can be approached in multiple ways and all ways are legitimate. These important teachings of Swami Vivekananda are relevant to all of us. To understand India, Swami Vivekananda traveled the length and breadth of this country. Can we also resolve to travel across the country to understand India better? If we understand India better, we can solve her problems. And remember, my dear friends, if you are an aspiring political leader, if you are an aspiring entrepreneur, if you aspire to solve any problems of India, then know that if you solve for India, you will be solving problems for the rest of the world. So like Swamiji, let us understand India, let us worship India, let us love India, let us live for India, and let us all live a life as pure, as sincere, and as lofty as Swami Vivekananda lived. I wish all of you a very, very happy anniversary, a very, very happy Janma Jayanti of Swami Vivekananda. Wish you all a very happy National Youth Day. Bharat Mata ki Jai. Namaste.